Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Movie Debates. If this is your first time watching one of these, essentially this is a series on the channel where I have a friend of mine on and we debate some kind of nerdy movie-related topic. And today, because it is officially spooky season, the spookiest day of all, Halloween.
Today's Halloween, guys.
We are going to be debating which Friday the 13th film is the best.
Second best. We're here today debating the second best Friday.
Because as we all know, Jason X
is the best.
Clears.
There's
of course.
No reason to debate.
We will be crowning the silver medal today. I think Friday the 13th, arguably the most iconic horror franchise, just because I think we got 12 of them if you include Freddy versus Jason. As far as horror goes, I think what most people would think of is slashers, and Jason, of course, being arguably the most iconic slasher, and both of us low-key being obsessed with the franchise. I figured this would be a good debate topic to bring to you guys on good old Halloween.
I missed the game. I missed the game part of it.
So I'll kick it off to my friend Riker to start things off, and he's going to tell you why he thinks Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, is the second best Friday the 13th.
The painting in frame?
Yes, it is. Yes, you can see Jason X's ugly mug in all of its beautiful glory.
Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Friday Part 6 is the second funniest Friday film, and I believe it's the only one that's trying to be funny. So we must give it props once again for comedy. It's also the only Friday film without nudity. Fun fact for you. I don't know if that makes it better or worse for everybody, but it is something to say about the movie. So that's all I have. Thanks for coming.
Okay, well, as the title of this video probably spoiled, as well as the thumbnail, I will be arguing for Friday the 14th. Ugh. Friday the 13th Part 4. The final chapter, which really wasn't the final chapter.
It wasn't close.
Yeah. The final chapter for a year or so. But so I think Friday the 13th Part 4 is the best Friday because inherently I think it captures the three key elements of what makes a great slasher film. You know, I think the first element that's really important for a slasher film is an intimidating lead force as your slasher. And, you know, both of these films, I mean, most of the franchise has Jason Voorhees. Absolutely knocks it out of the park in that respect. And honestly, I would argue that Ted White is probably my favorite Jason, of course, playing him in Part 4. And then the second aspect that I think is really integral to a great slasher film is having not outstaying your welcome. You want a suspenseful, fast-paced story. And both of these movies, again, kind of hit that. I think Part 4 is like 2 minutes longer, but they're both around that hour and a half kind of golden sweet spot that you want a slasher film to hit. You know, we all know the narrative beats. There's no reason to spend 3 hours on a slasher film. We all know what's going to happen. And that kind of leads me into my third point where I think honestly the most important of these three things that you want a slasher film to hint is iconic creative kills and jump scares. You know, I think because the narrative beats are inherently very similar slasher film to slasher film, especially within this franchise, those iconic creative kills and jump scares are what really people think of when they first think of these movies. And that is where I think Part 4 has a decisive edge over Part 6. And it's not really Part 6's fault, but the MPAA completely neutered the film, and it's almost like with every kill, the frame before you get to the money shot, you like cut away to something else and you just hear what happened. Like I kind of think of the kill in Part 6 where Jason has the really cool beheading of 3 people with the machete, but like just before you get to see it, it cuts away. Yeah. You know, like there's a lot of moments like that in Part 6, whereas Part 4, bringing back Tom Savini, who of course did iconic work in the first movie, his effects really, you get to see it in all of its glory. And I think the moment that I'll probably use as a prime example of that is Jason's death in Part 4.
Jason's death in Part 4 is very well done.
Like seeing him just slide down the machete is like that is what I'm talking about. That, like, when I think slasher film, like that is like, yes, give me more of that.
Yeah, Jason's death in Part 6 was underwhelming in comparison. I really like the scene leading up to it, but they couldn't kill him at that point, so it was more of an imprisonment, which is less satisfying than the death in part 4, definitely.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because obviously the movie is called Jason Lives, and I almost think that's kind of twofold in the sense of, obviously they're reviving him at the start of the film, but it's almost kind of like a mission statement for the franchise in a way, where I'm pretty sure the last shot is him opening his eye underwater. So it's almost like a Jason Lives, and like this franchise will live on and continue for many more not nearly as good installments, except for Jason X, of course. But yeah, I think kind of an interesting point that we can get into is maybe debating Megan versus Trish, because I think there's a fair argument that they could be the two best final girls in this franchise, and then also which version of Tommy Jarvis is better. I think a lot of which movie someone is going to like more will largely come down to that.
Definitely. I like Tommy from part 6 because the game was fun. The video game, the rest in peace, the Friday the 13th game.
Yes, that is one of the great shames of this franchise. That we never got a follow-up to the remake. It's been over a decade now. Almost a decade and a half, actually.
Yeah.
And also the game. And also the game never having Jason X. Like, you have Potato Sack Jason and not Jason X. What are you doing?
I can imagine they had plans for that, and the lawsuit just stopped a lot of the glory that we could have gotten with the game.
Circling back to the Tommy v. Tommy of it all, I do prefer Tommy in part 4. In fact, I would say Tommy in part 4 is probably my favorite of the 3 Tommys we get in this kind of trilogy, if you will, from 4, 5, and 6. I don't know, I think the actor really captured kind of just like a goofy, fun vibe. Like he's a child actor that doesn't inherently annoy me, which is a little rare for child actors, unfortunately. So I think he just has kind of like an infectious personality in part 4 that I really enjoy. And also just kind of his dynamic with Trish, I think is probably the best dynamic that he has in any of the 3 movies, where, you really kind of get that. Rather than one final survivor like in part 1, 2, and 3, it really kind of adds a new layer to the fold, because I think actually part 3, 2, 3, and 4 all take place in the span of like 2 days or something like that. So technically part 4 is like Sunday the 15th. And I think just kind of having that familial aspect, that kind of, Trish taking on that protector role, really adds a new, different layer to Tommy that he doesn't really have in part 5 or 6. Like, his dynamic with Megan is not bad. I just don't think it really can rival the level of, a sister trying to protect her own brother.
Yeah. And when we compare Megan to Trish, Megan was the whole movie was like comic relief. So if we're talking serious final girl, it didn't really get serious until they got back to the camp at the 10 minutes for the end of the movie. So whereas Trish was, protecting her brother the entire time. So if we're comparing dynamics, I'm not even gonna argue that part 6 is better. I just think, I don't know, I'm going to change topics if that's okay.
Okay.
About that?
In terms of part 4 versus part 6, mainly just, I think the kills are more iconic in part 4. You get the bone saw kill, the really great jump scare of Jason jumping through the window and grabbing Tommy. I think when I think of the franchise, that's honestly one of the scenes I think of first. Fun fact for nerds out there, they didn't tell the child actor when Jason was jumping through the window, so it's kind of Die Hardish, where they didn't tell Alan Rickman when he was getting dropped, so that look of fear on the actor's face was actually genuine. So I think of that, and also just, again, the Jason death of him just slowly sliding down the machete, and then also Tommy just hacking away at him at the end. I think that's if that was going to be the end of the franchise, which obviously it isn't, I do think that would have been a really good end note. And honestly, one of the great tragedies of this franchise, Part 5 not being a psychological, really examination of the PTSD within Tommy, such a missed opportunity.
Part 5, there's a debate. I want to bring up at the end of the worst Friday movie. I think it's between 5 and 8.
Interesting.
And I think it's 5. I do not like Part 5 was directed by, do you know about the director for Part 5? You know the director's backstory?
I do not.
I think it was a porn director. Look this up. And if I'm wrong, cut this out. I think it was an actual pornography director. And the movie is just, it's not good.
Yeah,
it's the most inappropriate for a movie about killing teenagers, in my opinion.
I can understand that. I kind of would argue Part 7 is probably my least favorite.
Seven's not great.
Like it would be between 7 and 8 for me, because I think 7 is so dreadfully boring. Like that really doesn't make sense to me, because after the success of Part 6, which went in a bit of a more goofy, tongue-in-cheek direction, really breathed life back into this franchise, why would you go in such a bleak, just dreadfully nails on a chalkboard, boring direction? And really, if the final girl wasn't a Carrie ripoff, I don't know if I would remember anything from that movie. That is really the one thing that makes me even associate anything within this franchise to that film.
Did they ever give anybody superpowers besides Jason, who's invincible? Yeah. Like nobody else has superpowers, right?
No, it's like a completely left field thing, which is totally just trying to capitalize on the success of Carrie. But hey, I guess if Jason can, I think, teleport based on how some of these movies are edited, and can take a bunch of gunshots.
In the video game, he can teleport. Yeah, so I'm keeping that as canon.
Yes. But I guess it would be between Part 7 and Part 8 for me. Because the thing with Part 8, the only things I really associate with that movie is that it's
one shot of Jason in Manhattan.
Yeah, him in Times Square is a really cool shot. But then the other thing that I associate with it is not even a good thing. I just think of it being a very sopping wet Jason throughout the movie. Like he's just always dripping. Like it's like a very weird creative choice.
I like the one kill from Part 8 where the dude's just wailing on Jason. And then what he says, like, do your worst or something, and Jason just one shots him.
Oh he punches his head off, right? Yeah. I guess I would lean Part 8 slightly over Part 7. I can see why someone would have Part 5 that low as well. I guess the one thing that I give Part 5 credit for is, since Jason isn't really Jason, it feels like a little bit more believable and this is a obstacle that we can actually clear. So it's kind of less convoluted, I guess you could say, how they take Jason down. But yeah, all in all, it is a boring entry, and again, missed opportunity. Tommy as a child shaved his head, killed this evil man, and then just was hacking at him relentlessly. You gotta capitalize on it. I know this is Friday the 13th. This is not exactly high cinema, but you gotta capitalize on that in some way.
Part 6 kind of did that.
Yeah.
In the small seriousness they tried to do, I think, what they forgot to do in Part 5.
So I guess I would say Part 6, I do find myself wishing a little bit with Part 6 that it went a little further with the goofiness. Because in the James Bond opening where he slashes the machete, I then wanted an entire James Bond style opening credits with both Jason. But then we just kind of get a boring black screen with white text as the opening credits. Like, I think there's a few small areas where we could have pushed even further into that, like, Jason X territory.
I think we've learned with this franchise that we have to take what they give us at this point.
Which, unfortunately, looks like will be nothing for the foreseeable future.
As far as I can tell, it will be nothing, yes.
But yeah, so I guess, we could say the debate portion. I guess the debate portion has been over for a minute. So please let me know in the comments, which film do you think is better, Part 4 or Part 6? And ultimately, which of these 12 movies do you think is the best Friday the 13th film? Now, for some behind-the-scenes lore, I think when I started this channel like 2 years ago, Riker was kind of nipping at my heels about, he wants to be on the channel and he wants to talk about Friday the 13th.
Lists were the hot topic when he started this channel.
Then ultimately, I made a Friday the 13th tier list last year during October, and I was like, oh, Riker's going to be so excited about this. It's going to be a surprise. And you were pissed. He was pissed because he was like, why the fuck was I not a part of the video?
I was going to put my Quasar in S tier, and he just didn't even invite me.
So I guess as a little epilogue to this video, do you want to give us a loose tier list of how you rank the franchise?
6, X, and 4 are S tier, and I don't really care about any of the other movies.
Okay. I guess out of curiosity, even though you don't care about the movies, what do you think about Part 1, 2, and 3? Because if I remember correctly, I had all of those in B tier.
2's the best. I think 2's... I'd go 2, 1, 3.
Okay.
If I was ranking it.
Would you have them all in the same tier, though? Kind of like
Probably.
around?
Probably.
Yeah,
I maybe 2 would be higher. I like Part 2. It was the first one with Jason. I like Potato Sack Jason. So, I might put 2 higher.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I guess Part 1, 2, and 3 all have like kind of identical set. They all are filmed kind of in the same way, with the exception of Part 3's kind of goofy 3D effects.
Yeah.
So I do think inherently they're all kind of tied together in a way. Yeah, I guess I would agree with that, because I've always felt like Part 1, the whodunit mystery of like Pamela, doesn't really work that well, because
You don't see him.
Yeah,
So,
it's like a pull that like the audience is never gonna get, really, because like she's not a character until that point.
they want to be Scream so bad, dude.
Yeah. They wanted to be Scream before Scream. Which, hey, I mean, if we want to get into hot take territory, you could argue that Part 6 had to crawl so that Scream could walk. Because that is a very...
How would you argue that? It's going to be another video. I'm assuming. How do you argue this?
Well, I would argue that because Part 6 is just such a self-aware film, in my opinion. I think it is a film that knows it's a horror film, and it's very over the top.
Yeah.
And it's a very fun experience. And
I have a closing statement prepared about this exact topic.
oh, okay. Do you want to take it away? Yeah.
Tell me how this movie made Scream possible, please.
Well, I wouldn't say it made Scream possible, but I would say I think there's elements of Part 6 that possibly maybe could have inspired elements of Scream because of how tongue-in-cheek it is, how kind of self-aware it is in certain moments. Like I think at one point they play some kind of game that's like centered around Jason.
Yeah.
Like they're very aware of the lore of Jason within a Jason film.
A card game about Jason.
Yeah. So that a free little mini movie debate. How Friday the 13th Part 6 Jason Lives inspired Scream. Without it, we wouldn't have Scream.
Okay. Bold statement. I'm going to make a bolder statement. The entire Friday the 13th franchise is not good. I think it's time we accept. I love the franchise. It is not good. I don't think it's ever been good. I wasn't alive during the creation of most of this media, all right? So I only have the retrospective. And I don't think we can argue that any of the movies are good. Part 4 is the best in like overall like quality of a movie. And I don't think it holds up if it's not a Friday the 13th film. And I think Part 6 is the only film, including Jason X, Part 6 is the only film that knows what it is and that tries to be like funny. And that's why I would put Part 6 above Part 4. Part 4 is trying to be a good movie, and I think it is playing a fool's game in doing so. So Jason X, somebody had to know they were making Jason X when they made Jason X. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. All right, but I do think they still wanted it to be a good movie. It's not a good movie.
That honestly, I'm kind of inclined to agree with that. I would not consider any of these movies good movies. I do think Part 4, objectively, is like the closest to being a good movie. But again, it does kind of unravel when you take it out of context of the franchise. That being said, though, kind of like you, I just have a love for So Bad They're Good movies and goofy films and the slasher genre in general. I've watched all the Friday movies, all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, all the Child's Play movies. Like, essentially any franchise that I've started, I've made it to the end of, no matter how shitty or boring some of the entries got. And I do think there's a charm of Friday the 13th, even outside of just the quality. And honestly, I can understand why Part 6 is probably most people's favorite. I think it's probably the most common one that people kind of cite as like, yes, like that is the one.
It's of the more fun movies to watch for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think I would want to debate somebody who doesn't agree with that, because I think that would be more interesting.
Yes, not calling out anyone who's watching this, who clicked on this video, but if you think any of these movies are fine cinema, I think you're batshit crazy. But you know what? You do you. Thank you for watching regardless. Yeah.
Tune in next time for a Pokemon tier list. We're going to rank every Pokemon in the franchise. We're bringing this up.
Yeah, that'll totally happen. But thank you. If you guys made it this far, I'm not sure how you did, but for the 5 of you that did, thank you for watching. If you want more movie debate content, I am going to try to do two per month going forward. And, if you enjoyed, please feel free to drop a like and subscribe for more Screen Stories content.
Thanks for having me. Comment your favorite Pokemon down below, and I'll be in every video moving forward. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Until next time, peace.